So today we are going to talk about top universities in the UK and how these examinations are kind of made, I guess. And we also have a guest speaker today talking about UCL graduate. So we'll ask her more about the exams and what it is like actually studying in UCL. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, I'm going to introduce myself first. I've actually graduated from a boarding school a long time ago, but in the UK. And I've actually studied in the UK for 10 years in total. But currently I'm living in Canada. So my experience abroad is still kind of in progress. And I studied sociology in university, but I did language education as master's course to become an English teacher. Now I will pass it on to the guest speaker, and she will talk to you about herself for a bit.
Thank you, Pauline. As Ayako introduced, let me introduce this history about the study abroad. I graduated from a boarding school in Britain and lived in the UK for 6 years, did A-levels and university and master's degree. As she introduced, I graduated from UCL, studied chemistry. I left UK and living now in Japan, but worked for a company called Google and using English and for 8 years. So I continue using English for over a decade.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I will summarize some of the kind of application stuff about the UK. Please feel free to join or comment when you think I'm kind of lacking or whatever. So first, UK universities application began in September. I also remember doing it in lower 6th, which is year 12. I think in American years, the number of years are a bit different, but we kind of prepare for university for 2 years. There's not actually an application form. There is a kind of platform called UCAS, and everybody applies through UCAS regardless to which universities you're going to or whether you're applying to Oxford. It's always UCAS, and it still is. And you can apply to a maximum of 5 courses. You can apply to same university of 5 different courses. And you can also do different universities and then maximum of the same course. I remember actually applying to sociology and Asian studies and stuff like that too. And that was also allowed. But I will talk to you later about these personal statements, but there's only one personal statement. So your application form must be kind of talking about all of it in a very short essay. Okay, so 3 courses in a university is not allowed, and 4 courses in a different university is not allowed. And you can't really take other forms of exams other than A-level or IB or French IB. So Kaori, could you talk to me about your experience of maybe choosing universities through UCAS?
Yeah, I studied my course. The course I selected was natural sciences. The reason I chosen that was I was interested in chemistry or physics or those science subjects, but couldn't decide which one to be major on. So I decided to go broad to begin with. So I picked natural sciences and selected universities that provide natural science course, a broad range of science studies. So to pick 5 different courses. This is just not my case, but if you want to apply for medical schools, then you're only allowed to have 4 applications, 4 courses, no more than 5.
So if you wanted to do chemistry or natural sciences, are there some subjects you had to take for A-level?
Yeah, it's often recommended to take chemistry or physics, math, and biology, those scientific subjects. Also, it's not mandatory, but almost everyone takes that, at least to AS level. The AS level is the half course of A level. A level is something to study within 2 years. There's some people only do it for half a year or 1 year. So that's called the AS level. It's just study in the middle, studies and it stops in the middle after a year. So that's also examined as well. And they take into consideration for the admissions.
Thank you very much. So in kind of science courses or engineering courses, there are some requirements, required subjects, but things like sociology or like other subjects, I didn't specifically have a subject that I have to take. So it depends on what you want to do. Okay. And here is the university application schedule. The things that you have to kind of worry about, I would say, is Oxford and Cambridge, because the application is in for earlier, because they do interviews as well as application through UCAS. So other universities, other than like Oxford and Cambridge, you can kind of apply until December, but you are advised to apply in the first semester. And you cannot add on to your desired university after the application deadline. This means that once you've chosen your usually like 5 universities, you can't just add one more because you feel like it or you didn't succeed in the first like 5. So you add another one is not allowed. If you desire to apply to Oxbridge, and they are called like Oxbridge candidates, and that would mean that you would have to apply other like 4 universities at the same time as you applying to Oxford or Cambridge, and that's something you need to be aware of. So Kaori, do you have any kind of comments about how like this application, like do you remember anything that happened in your like application?
Yeah, for this is something to consider that if the British school starts in September and Oxford and the Cambridge application deadline is the middle of October. So that means you only have like 1 month and a little to consider if you want to apply to Oxford or Cambridge. Then you have to also consider the other courses you want to apply for at the same time. So submission only can occur once, not twice. That's something to be aware of. So it's better to start considering which courses or which universities you want to go before the last academic year at high school starts.
Yeah, so the preparation becomes very kind of serious at the end of year 11. I would say that even before doing GCSE, people who want to go to Oxford or Cambridge know that they want to go. So they are beginning to prepare maybe a year or 2 years in advance in reality. So more like in detail about this application preparation, there is something called personal statement that you have to write. If I remember correctly, I think it was about 500 words. About yourself and why you would like to enter this university and also why you want to do this course. As I said before, if you wanted to apply to different courses in different universities, you actually have to include in one essay, like you want to do. So in my case, I wanted to do sociology in one university, but another one I had to do sociology and Asian studies. So in my personal statement, I would have to have written both reasons, which is kind of difficult, but it is doable, I guess. And the recommendation letter is usually written to by your school teacher or your tutor, as you might call the teacher. And this expected grade, we actually call it predictions or predicted grades, but it's the same thing. A levels and GCSEs and stuff, when you apply to these universities, you haven't actually done the whole exam. So what universities are looking for is what you will probably get in the final exam. And teachers will base it on your kind of grades or tests up till the last academic year, and then they give the predicted grades to the universities, or like in more detail, they upload it on UCAS. So that's what they do. Do you have any kind of comment about maybe particularly personal statements, Kaori?
For the personal statements, as Ayuk mentioned, it has to be generic in the way, because you are applying to the different courses or different university with one statement. So you have to focus on what you want to write and what you want to state to appeal yourself. And for the reference letter, it's not something you can control. So it's probably better to behave at the school. That's not something I can tell. And for the predicted grade, it's based on what you have done before your last year at the high school started. So say UK year 12 is the last year before university. So often teachers create these predicted grades based on how well you did or how not well you did it before the year 11 or beforehand.
Yeah, so it's very important to kind of behave yourself and also do well in mock exams, because that is what they usually base the grades on, I would say. So what actually is an A-level exam? This is kind of rare case. Not many people would like to do an A-level exam in like America. Like they don't really know about it. So we'll describe like what they are. So you can take maximum of 5 subjects. This means that it might sound like it's not a lot, but as I said at the second one, it's a very in-depth learning. So even one subject is a very, very kind of deep kind of course. I don't really know many people who have actually done 5. Even Oxbridge candidates usually did 4. As Kaori said, there are in our generation, I think we did AS level and A level in different years. Now they do it together, and there is no AS level actually, I think, as I know. The minimum of 3 subjects, so you have to do 3. The problem is there are like, so in, for example, in maths, you will do like 5 papers or 6 papers exams, even if for just one subject. So it's very, very in-depth learning, and that is the reason why British universities only have 3 years rather than 4, because the idea is you've done the kind of the generic understanding of the subject in high school. So that is why these A-level subjects are quite deep and I found it very difficult. And you have to be very careful of what subject you choose, because once you have like signed up for it in year 12 or beginning of year 12, you can't really change it in the middle of the course. Okay. So, Carl, do you know anyone who's done 5 subjects? I actually don't know.
I don't know anyone who did 5 subjects.
Yeah, do you have anything other to say about the A-level like exam, like what they are?
So as she mentioned, it's a deep level learning. And my father is actually professor in chemistry in Japanese universities. And when he looks at the A-level papers, and he thought this is equivalent to what's actually bachelor first year or second years to Japanese universities. Well, it depends on which university, of course, you go, but this is how different statement or how the depth level is changing and depending on which country or education system you are in. So many people tries to go to, well, thinks of going to British universities with generic knowledge of the subject, high school in different countries, but that's incompatible because you are behind at the beginning if you only go to the universities in Britain without A-level or equivalent level studies.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And in my school, it was advised that if you're from another country, you wouldn't really want to do like English literature or history, those essay-based subject. I actually did history, but I wouldn't say I regret it, but it was very difficult. So but the reason why I did it was because I wanted to go into do like sociology kind of literature, not literature based, but I knew that there was subject required a lot of essay writing in the future. So I wanted to prepare myself. So those things you can ask us, you know, what kind of subject you want to do and what you're good at, which is going to come up next or the later. So these are the famous universities, like they are called, some of them are categorized as Russell Group, which is like a group that people recognize as kind of Japanese equivalent of GMAT, I guess.
Or Ivy League in America.
Yeah, Ivy League in America, and that's the same in the UK. These are some of them are in London, like Imperial, LSE, UCL, King College London. They are in London. They're all in London. SOAS is also in London too, but there are places like Durham, Warwick, Bath. People might know Bath. It's a very beautiful city. And also Edinburgh, and it's not there, but St. Andrews, where Prince William and Kate Middleton went. That is also, I think, a Russell Group and always at the top kind of universities, offers a lot of subjects. Yeah. So seeing as, you know, we have a UCL graduate, Kaori, why did you choose UCL?
Well, one of the reasons is I grew up in Tokyo, which is quite a big city in Japan. And while I was in high school in the UK, sixth form, so I was in countryside, so I wanted to go back to the cities. That was one of the reasons. And UCL was a place that it's quite liberal in a way, I have to say. Oxford is historically built for religious studies, so talking about Christianity. But UCL's foundation is not like that. It was the first university in the UK opened for any races or regardless of genders you can study, and regardless of subject you can study as well. So the places started doing the science bachelor degrees first time in the UK. So that was the liberal atmosphere UCL has. So that was what I liked.
Yeah, so many people decide based on their kind of location or what they offer. I think some people chose Durham because they had a special course called PPE, which only Oxford, Cambridge, and Durham and Warwick offers, and things like that. So you can base on people usually base on what they want to do in the future and decide on the location. I think.
And deciding on the location, what's also important is you have to consider what's the living costs. Living in the countryside or the city side, there is this very different living expense you have to pay for. So that's something you should consider before applying as well.
Yeah, totally. London is usually very more, a lot more expensive. Yes. Yeah. So yes, and keep your success in application. So I mentioned a bit of this earlier. High quality of personal statement. Usually, tutors and teachers will look over it, but we can also look over it for you. And this is actually like the first thing that they read about you, and that your passion or motivation is a kind of necessity. And more importantly, or equally important, good grades in A-level exam. So to get to that point, you need to study hard in high school and take the exam. And unlike other kind of exams like SATs or like ACTs, A-levels, you can only take it maybe, it's a very difficult kind of case, but once or twice, I would say. You can do retakes where you can do like one more go at, it depends on kind of what subject you're doing. So essentially, it's kind of safer to think that you only have one go in this kind of exams. And if you want to retake, you're making your life harder for yourself because you have to re-study what you have done a year ago. So SATs and ACTs, you can actually take them as many times as you would like. Or if you are ill, you can kind of take it again or something. But A-levels is quite difficult because school actually organizes the exam usually. So you don't actually go to like a exam kind of place. And it's very fixed. And so you actually have to study very hard. I would say that the hardest kind of time I studied was my upper sixth, which is the year 13. Last year of high school, I have actually never studied harder than that, I would say. What about you, Carl? Did you study hard or?
I studied hard, as you mentioned as well. So as she mentioned, there's only one or two chances you can take the exams. The retaking is of course possible, but that means you have to study something you studied before on top of what you're currently studying at the current year. So that means you have a lot of workload.
Yeah, so if you are, willing to do that, or if you want to take that risk, I think it is a kind of wise thing to do, right? So these are the kind of other universities that we do look after. We do not just talk about universities in the UK. Today we focused on UK, but we have an experience in looking through personal statements for other universities too around the world. So please do ask us about applications. And I think the most important thing that we can help on is the personal statement bit. So if you have any, concerns or worries, you can always ask us. And also before you turn year 12, deciding on which subjects to take from GCSE, there's a big jump between GCSE and A-level. So even if you got quite good grades in GCSEs, that does not mean that you'll do well in A-levels because it's a lot harder. And some people, like most Asian or Japanese people, think that, oh, actually, like I was really good at GCSE math. This was actually my case. I thought I was really good at math because GCSE math is really not that difficult. And then I took A-level and didn't realize how hard it was. And I studied math the hardest. And so these kind of, not issues, but things that we could help you to prevent this kind of shock. We are always welcome to kind of help you. So Carl, do you have any, thing you want to add or comment on?
That shock between GCSE and the A-level is not something I've experienced since I didn't study GCSE in the UK, although that similar dilemma or jump exists between A-levels and the university as well. So I know many students who did very well in A-levels coming to UCL, but they found UCL studies very hard. Some of them dropped out. So, but on the other hand, some people didn't do well in A-levels, say didn't get grade A, but got B, but they graduated university with a top grade of university. So that happens as well. So A-levels is very important indicator to go to university or not, but it's not the end of the world if you didn't take grade A.
Yeah, that's also true. I think there's always, another chance. And when you enter universities, what is important is how you graduate. And I would say that, this is not about universities, but the number you would kind of want to hit on is to 2-1. We used to say 2-1, and that would reflect on your kind of job applications in later life, more than A levels. So preparation is important. Getting into a good university is always a plus. And those who are thinking of going back to Japan after doing A levels, which can be a possibility, that is also a possibility for most universities like Sophia and Waseda. They have requirements. They don't specify which subject you need to take, but you actually can take A level and then actually enter these returning universities too. So if you are considering that too, please ask us and leave a comment on the description box, and we will be very happy to assist you. Okay, Kaori, do you have anything to say before we close?
So for the graduation grade is important in Britain. That's the same in America, I suppose, that they have GPA grades. When I worked for Google while job hunting, Google asked me about how well I did it, or not well I did in universities, how to submit all the exam scores and explain British grading systems. So British grading system is if you score more than 70%, you are the first class student. Then the more than 60% is second B class B students. Basically, that's kind of the grade you want to aim for. But the American system is very different. I think you have to get more than 90% or something to get a star course in America. And so the quality of the questions and how they score and how you mark them is very different styles.
Yeah, so there's always kind of a shock when you go into university in the UK. You get like 40% and you think, oh my gosh, like this is like what happened to me. And in American universities, 40% is really, really bad. But in British universities, 40% is actually a pass. Well, borderline pass, I think. Yeah. So you wouldn't want to aim there, but that is not it's okay, actually, kind of, yes. So those things are different. So yeah, watch out. And if you want to get into like an international kind of what Japanese people call gaishike, like foreign companies in Japan, how you graduate is very important. I know Japanese universities not always focus on how you graduated because they don't really give you the number or like certificate to say how you graduated, but these things are required in some companies. So even if you finish high school and studied hard, you need to continue studying hard. I guess.
Yeah, to be honest, if you don't study hard in British universities, you won't get graduated.
That's true. That's true too. So yes, okay. So thank you for listening to the our kind of seminar about talks about British universities and A levels. So if you have any questions, please ask us. And for now, we will see you soon. Thank you very much.